Passenger Service Act created the National Railway Passenger Corporation, Amtrak. The act directed Amtrak to develop and operate a modern rail service to meet intercity transportation needs. Amtrak began operations on May 1st, 1971. On April 1st, 1976, Amtrak acquired its Northeast Corridor property from Conrail. Amtrak's Northeast Corridor is the busiest railroad in North America, with about 2,200 commuter and freight trains operating in the same portion of the Washington, D.C. to Boston, Massachusetts route each day. In 2016, Amtrak carried around 17.8 million passenger trips on the Northeast Corridor. Most of the Amtrak's operating network of tracks is owned by other railroads. Amtrak has trackage right agreements with freight railroads for about 20,549 route miles of track, which are around 96% of the route miles traveled by its trains. Amtrak owns around 791 route miles of track, which is about 4% of the route miles that Amtrak travels. On the 457-mile Northeast Corridor, Amtrak owns and operates 363 miles. Of the portion of the Northeast Corridor not owned by Amtrak, the New York Metropolitan Transportation Authority owns a 10-mile segment, the Connecticut Department of Transportation owns a 46-mile segment, and the state of Massachusetts owns a 38-mile segment. Railroads are responsible for the positive train control installation where passenger trains operate and where poison or certain hazardous materials are transported. Positive train control systems are designed to prevent train-to-train collisions over speed derailments, incursions to establish work zone limits, and movement of a train through a switch left in the wrong position. In particular, positive train control is designed to prevent accidents caused by human error. Amtrak has activated the Advanced Silver Speed Enforcement System on the tracks it owns in the Northeast Corridor and in the Amtrak-owned portion of the Mission Line. ACSES, in combination with cab signaling, meets the Federal Railroad Administration's requirements of a PTC system. Amtrak has installed PTC on its locomotives and cab cars that operate over the Northeast Corridor. On April 3rd, 2016, the crew of Train 89 reported for duty at 5:25 a.m. at Pennsylvania Station in New York City. The crew consists of an engineer, a conductor, 2 assistant conductors, and 3 onboard service attendants. Train 89 consists of 1 locomotive, Siemens ACS-64 Locomotive 627, 8 passenger cars, a CAFI car, and 1 baggage car, departed around 6:06 a.m. and traveled southbound on the Amtrak Philadelphia to Washington line, destined for Savannah, Georgia. While in New York City, the train was inspected, and it passed all pre-departure tests required by the FRA, including a Class 1 air brake test. On the trip to Savannah, Georgia, Train 89 made scheduled station stops in New Jersey, at Newark, Metro Park, and Trenton. The next stop was at Philadelphia, where Train 89 departed on Track 3. The train crew reported no problems with the brake system throughout the trip. The video from the inward-facing camera in the control cab, beginning with the train's departure from Philadelphia, showed the locomotive engineer seated in the engineer's seat facing forward, and appeared to be alert. As the train traveled towards Chester, train operations were routine, and the engineer was operating the train at or near track speed, which was 110 miles per hour. Up ahead on the track is a backhoe, not able to stop in time. He puts on the impediment brakes and ducks on the floor, racing for impact. The lead locomotive, 627, sustained extensive damage to his cab and was derailed. At least 2 of the cars were damaged. 2 maintenance workers, a backhoe operator, and a track supervisor were killed in the crash. 41 people were hospitalized. Passengers were evacuated from the train to a nearby church. Among the passengers was a businessman and former presidential candidate Steve Forbes, who was on his way on the trip to Washington, D.C. to participate in the C-SPAN interview program In Depth. Forbes was unable to complete his trip, but he did participate in a 15-minute interview by phone about his experiences that morning. Amtrak rail service between Wilmington and Philadelphia was suspended and was serviced on the SEPTA Wilmington-Newark line. New Jersey Transit accepted Amtrak's tickets for services between New York City and Trenton while services were disrupted. Service was restored the following morning, though with residential delays. The National Transportation Safety Board and Federal Railroad Administration immediately opened investigations into the accident. One aspect of the NTSB investigation is whether or not the maintenance crew was working on the correct track. The train event recorder and locomotive window were recovered by the NTSB. The NTSB released its preliminary report on April 18, 2016, and its final report on November 14, 2017. The NTSB said that, according to the federal investigation, the track was supposed to be closed to trains at the time of the crash. The backhoe and 2 killed workers were authorized to be present on Track 2 during the maintenance period, which was scheduled to be from 10 p.m. April 1st until 5 a.m. April 4th, for ballast cleaning and remediation of found ballast. The incident took place in Track 3, which is supposed to be subject to temporary closure while the backhoe was brought into position on Track 2. The report states that Amtrak estimated that the crash resulted in $2.2 million in damages. Positive train control systems were in place and functional on the train and tracks. However, crews performing work on the stretch of track when the crash occurred failed to deploy a supplemental shunting device while completing track work. Deployment of this device is considered to be a basic safety measure and is required by Amtrak's rules, although not by federal regulation, whenever workers are completing track work in short windows of time. The NTSB released further information in January 2017, including interviews conducted as part of the investigation that showed apparent miscommunication between the 2 shift foremen regarding whether the track dispatcher had been informed of track restrictions. The Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division, the union representing track workers, was highly critical of Amtrak's management in the weeks after the crash, saying that Amtrak's safety procedures were inadequate. In October 2017, it was revealed that one of the track workers had taken oxycodone and the other had taken cocaine. The engineer had taken marijuana.